another episode of Back to the Whiteboard. This time, probably a bit more serious than you'd hoping for. It's not a based or cringe video, although what I'm going to talk about I would deem cringe. I want to preface this that I am an idiot on the internet pointing out things that I feel and I'm not an expert in. Just making this thoroughly aware before I get into what I'm talking about today. Cool. So what I want to talk about today is, first off, fix my camera angle a little bit. There you go, you can see the top of my head now. I'm sick of being tall. I believe, amongst other things, that social media has done more damage than pros. And I will preface that it's done some good stuff for some good movements, like the LGBTQ and stuff. Like, spreading awareness about certain movements and stuff like that. Not bad. However, I'm not really here to talk about that. I'm more here to talk about algorithms and why I think they harm the human psyche more than we know. My main point today is, especially about the social media stuff, is that I think people lack the ability to argue and discuss anymore. Maybe not argue as in screaming matches. I think those happen plenty of times. But to actually get your ideas challenged and come to compromises on certain topics, which I believe is more effective and better for humanity as a whole. I do believe, though, social media will probably be looked back at as one of the most damaging inventions that humans have ever made. This is coming from, lead in paint and petrol and, we're talking about that kind of level. So what I want to talk about is social media's algorithms specifically. Now, you've got to remember that social media has not been around for that long, but there are still now people where the algorithm has become a kind of third parent almost, especially within the formative years of some young brains. Because people like to believe that they're infallible and can't be manipulated, but you can. It is pretty easy to fall into manipulation from external sources, especially if you don't fully realise it's happening. But that's expert manipulation, I guess. Mm-hmm. Right, so let's talk about the algorithm first. So the algorithm's one and only job is to get you to stay on whatever you're on. So if you're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube even, or TikTok, whatever, the algorithm's job is to get you to stay on that platform so you can watch more advertisements so they can make more money. Where I think the algorithm is most harmful is because it won't ever show you content, at least not regularly, stuff that you're apathetic towards. So stuff that you don't really care about. Like, you're not going to see that kind of information at all. Or like those kind of posts or whatever. Say if, for a stupid example, say that you really like cats, but you hate dogs. It will show you posts of cats doing cute things that you'll then comment and like, going, "Oh, I've got a cat too, this is really cute. I want to eat it. Cuteness, aggression, But then eventually you'll notice that you'll stop reacting and interacting with those types of videos or posts or whatever. But then it knows that you don't like dogs. So it'll send you a video of a dog doing something bad, like fighting a cat or chasing a child down the street or ripping up a sofa or something, and make you angry. And you'll comment on it and you'll interact with it. The algorithm doesn't care. You're still on the website. It's doing its job. The interaction is showing you what you already like and what you already dislike. So it's not a real view of the world per se. It's showing you stuff that you already like and already dislike. It's not really showing you stuff you don't care about, which is, to some people, would be like a good point, but I don't really think it is. I feel like the stuff that you like and stuff that you don't like doesn't really have the same effect on you if you don't get that middle stuff, like that normal life stuff. I feel like the dynamics of seeing stuff that you like to stuff that you don't care about to stuff that you hate, that kind of thing, those dynamics, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty healthy for a human brain. Like, different kind of like problems, situations, all this stuff that your brain can kind of like process through. But yeah, anyway, so the algorithm showing you stuff that you already like and stuff that you already don't like kind of leads you to like echo chamber territory, where it'll your already established beliefs are getting nothing but affirmed, and your already established not hatred, but dislike for certain things is already getting more affirmed. So it's like your brain is receiving affirmation for both hating said thing and liking said thing. It's weird. Once you get into like human behavioral like traits and stuff, the algorithm's kind of sketch. That's why I don't really go on social media too much. But yeah, so you get echo chambered. So you're just like, oh, well, everybody that I like is saying that I'm right, and everybody that I don't like is saying that I'm wrong. So, you know, I must be right. That then reinforms. This isn't, by the way, one-sided. This is everybody. Everybody gets this in some regard, like at all. I'm not even saying I'm free from it either. But everyone gets echo chambered. So no, but everybody is stubborn in their own beliefs then, because they get nothing but praise for them, or they don't really get challenged on them at all. Which leads people down the course of not being willing to speak to each other anymore. And if we take this in like a political context, say if you're on the left wing and then this chain has happened to you, then you're gonna think the people on the right are morons and they don't know what they're talking about. And it's vice versa as well. Somebody on the right does this, you're gonna think the people on the left are just idiots. But the thing is like, so you guys, right, so I'll get to my other point in a second. I've just had another one coming to my head. So nobody talks anymore politically at all. People scream at each other and they pretend to have debates, but nobody actually talks. If you ever watch any debates that are on YouTube, bar a rare few, you will never really see them listening to each other. They'll be thinking of what to say next. They're not digesting what has been said. They're just thinking about what they should say next, which isn't really a discussion more than it is two people PowerPoint presentationing each other. But then they don't compromise either. They just kind of like, oh, got you, proved you wrong, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, if you prove somebody wrong and they already vehemently believe that you're wrong, you're not changing their mind there. The only thing you're proving them to be wrong for is for credits with your own fan base, because they'll be like, yeah, you got him. Yeah. It's like when you see videos of, oh, the woke leftist gets destroyed, and it's like, who's that video for? It's just for your followers already. It's not helping anything. It's so annoying. It's like, if you truly wanted some change, you would sit down, talk to people, like genuine conversation, a discussion. Don't have a screaming match about random bullshit, and don't do gotchas. That's not how you convince people. You convince people by just being nicer to them and just talking to them. But anyway, yeah, so this has led to a massive rift within just everything now. Like, it's not even contained to social media anymore. It's contained to newspapers, YouTubers, just everything. Everything has this split to it. It's very rare that you find something that doesn't have this political split. But yeah, so I believe social media has done a lot of damage in that regard. I believe that it's, as I said, it has done some good, but I feel like just because of the algorithm, like wanting to keep you on there, it's done more damage than people want to think it has. I kind of feel the same about nurseries as well, but I don't think it's the fault of the parents on this point. So if we're going to go over stuff that I think is ruining just civilization in general at the moment, two-wage households. Now, I watched a video with I can't remember his name. I'm really sorry. It was a very interesting video. I cannot remember his name. He was an older British gentleman who had a vape on him at the time. And he was talking to, I think, Alex O'Connor or somebody. Yeah, something like that. He was talking about the two-wage households. And I had already thought about this with my nursery thinking. So, the two-wage households were fine when they were optional, because then people could go out and get more cash, and that's fine. But with them becoming obligatory now in today's economic situations, this is bad for families. First off, house prices are way more expensive now because people have to do two-wage households. So people put the house prices up. Margaret Thatcher's the fucking worst, by the way. So Bill Clinton as well. Those two are probably, they've done more damage than this has. But two-wage households, as I said, were fine when they were optional. But now that they're obligatory, they don't work. Because now houses need two wages to now function, to have rental property, whatever. This is bad for kids. Because if you're working two jobs, like both the mother and the father, or the father and the father, or the mother and the mother, or the it and it, doesn't matter. If the two people in charge, the guardians, in charge of the kids, they need to work, both of them need to work full working weeks, then they have to spend less time with their kids, which means nursery. Now, I'm not also blaming the nurseries here either, because the nurseries, I'm pretty sure, do a fantastic job of trying to raise these kids. But you'll have groups of like 30 children to like 2 adults. And when you're young and you're in your formative years, this is why they're called the formative years, they are perhaps some of the most important points in your, just life, because this forms the person you'll be, right? So if you're a kid in a class of 30, and you're not getting the attention that traditionally you'd get from your parents, this causes issues. And again, I don't think it's the nursery's fault either. I think it's this. Because both parents have to work, this is a necessity, but this isn't necessarily that good for kids. I can't remember where I was. However, nurseries. So as I said, I don't think it's a fault of the parents, nor the nurseries per se. But I think this is doing more damage to mental health. Same with social media, to be honest. Mental health is, I think, something very, very big at this point in time. And I think it would be fixed with better investment. Put money into the country. But these two things, this is early stage. This is just consistent. So social media has a problem where you only ever see the highlights of somebody else's life. So take the fitness industry for an example, where you'll see a bloke with a glistening six-pack, his quivering abs per se. He'll only have abs for like a month or two. He'll take like 1,000 pictures and then he'll just post them over the year kind of thing. So it's not really what he's like all the time. And it's like when you see people posting about going on holiday and all this kind of stuff, it's not necessarily what their entire life is like. But humans can't help but compare their situations to other people's situations. And you're like, oh, why don't I have that? Why don't I feel that good? Why is my life not like that? But you're not really seeing their day-to-day. You're just seeing the highlights. So I think that, somebody once said comparison is the thief of joy. That's basically what I'm getting at. So comparison is the thief of joy. This one, I think it's not getting enough attention when you were younger. And I know that people use that as an insult, but I genuinely mean it. I think in them formative years, relationships and like communication with adults helps form your brain into what it should be later on in life. And I think those social media and nursery are potentially doing a bit more damage than we tend to believe. This is just about discourse. This is making people into like fanatics, which is not good. Fanatics is not good no matter what. I mean, you can get the kind of fanaticism that's kind of not damaging. Say like, oh, I'm a big fan of One Piece, which, by the way, is the most goated show on earth. But, like, being fanatical about politics, it doesn't really, like, sit right with me. I don't know whether I've already been over this, because I've done this video twice now. It's when politics isn't football teams. That is what I'm trying to get at. So you should pick whichever party you agree with the most, and you can take the bits you don't agree with as a compromise. You shouldn't always stand or be fanatical about one political party either way, because that's dumb. It should be a pick and mix, right? You should like if you're being normal and you don't have any biases, you should agree with some points from one party and some points from the other party. That's just how people are. We're not one-dimensional carbon copy dumbasses. It's you pick, right? And you pick whichever party has the most you've picked from, that kind of thing. You also have to pick who you think lies the least. And I know that can be a difficult one to kind of fathom and work out, but it's who you think lies the least, which is difficult. Because all politicians, to be professional politicians, they have to be very good at lying. They also have to be very good at telling you what you want to hear. But I don't know. This might get into another topic, yeah. But I will summarize what I'm talking about here right now. I believe that two-wage households and the social media algorithms has done more damage than we think it has done. But we could get into more problems like Margaret Thatcher and Bill Clinton, I think, have done equally, if not more, damage. Well, Margaret Thatcher to the UK, per se, but like Bill Clinton to the rest of the world as well. Just to preface it, Margaret Thatcher gave the ability, which by the way was good at the time, to sell social housing to the tenants in it. So people in the house could buy the house and then they could sell a house and move on to get another house. In theory, very good. However, the stipulation, she should have put a stipulation in saying that when they're selling the social housing, they have to sell them back to the government. So the stock remains the same. She didn't. She allowed private, very rich people to buy the housing, and that essentially took assets away from the government and gave them to the higher class. That is why housing is so expensive right now, and also she stopped producing social housing. So in England, because if you fix housing, you fix a lot of issues. So she's fucked it for a long time. She also kind of devolved manufacturing, not good. She put it all on the banking system, not good. I mean, it made her a lot of money at the time, but not good. Bill Clinton was the one that kind of fucked it for the rest of us. So there was a piece of legislation in American law that basically told the banks, and I am paraphrasing here, that you can't do whatever you want to do. You have to follow these strict rules to make sure you don't go bust every couple of years. Because before this legislation, the economy went through, I mean, Gordon Brown also had a part to play in this, but like, the economy went through periods of growth and bust, growth and bust, growth and bust, growth and bust, all that kind of shit. So this legislation, and what Gordon Brown was doing in the past, about the 2008 financial crash, meant that the banks were more stable. But he didn't make that legislation, by the way. He signed another piece of legislation saying that banks don't have to listen to that piece of legislation. Signed it out of law, right? And that, again, paraphrasing, and I'm skipping a lot of plot points and all this stuff, but that led to the 2008 financial crash because the banks were just doing whatever the fuck they want without any form of, like, governmental supervision. It's fucking dumb. But yes. This is why... So essentially, due to all that shit, that's why households need two wages. That's why nursery... as again, it's not the fault of the nursery or the parents. It's just best of a bad situation. So then that leads to kids not getting enough attention that they require, which then means they have to supplement with a third parent, which will be your algorithm, which then fucking echo chambers and all this shit leads to social media ruining discourse. But that means people don't compromise anymore. So nothing actually gets done. It's just people screaming at each other, and it doesn't really work. I might say something that'll piss quite a few people off. Social media is like the modern era's new god, and it's not fun. I don't like it. I don't know. I don't really have a solution. I heard rumours that Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister from the right, no, he's not right wing, but like the right people I'm mates with on the right told me that they were going to ban social media, and I was like, we probably fucking should. But yeah, I mean, again, not really a funny one this time, but I just really wanted to get my thoughts and opinions out of there about this kind of stuff. I feel like, right, I will summarise. I feel like people need to give less of a shit and have their ideals challenged more. I feel like people should be more open to having open discussions about topics that could lead to compromises and effective resolutions to the problems we have in the world. That won't happen though, because of this. But I want it to happen, but it won't. You understand? This works for a lot of people. social media makes a lot of people a lot of money, so nothing will happen ever, because money is the root of all evil, and it sucks that I need it. It sucks that I need it to survive and live. I want to go live in a cabin in the woods, hunt my own food, and live off stupidness. I might have to make some money to buy internet, whatever. Right, but I can't. So I'm stuck ranting about a situation I can do nothing about at the moment. But yeah, I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully next one will be a bit less serious. And sayonara.